Part 3, Protocol Zero. Admiral Kalen Vance did not simply end. It embedded itself into the consciousness of the Galactic Concordance Empire. It played on a loop on every public view screen. It echoed from private comms. It was the ghost in their machine. The face of the Grand Admiral, cold and unforgiving, was seared into the mind of every GCE citizen. From the highest-ranking military officer to the lowest-level dock worker, his final words became their new reality. It was never our technology you should have feared. For a species as proud as the GCE, the revelation was a psychological cataclysm. Their society, built on the conviction of their own hard-won strength, fractured in a matter of hours. On the bridge of the GCE heavy cruiser Vindicator's Blade, Admiral Kira Vex watched her command staff disintegrate into chaos. Some officers were shouting, demanding a counterattack, their faces flushed with a mixture of terror and rage. Others sat silently, their blue skin paling to a sickly lavender, their large black eyes reflecting the looped footage of Vance's ultimatum. "They lie, it's a trick," bellowed Sub-Commander Grok, his fists clenched. "They want us to surrender our fleet so they can slaughter us." Kira silenced him with a single, sharp gesture. She was one of the few who understood. She had rewatched the fragmented footage from the Capitol's defense grid a dozen times. She saw the impossible speed of the Phantoms, the way the blast doors were torn apart like wet paper. She saw the cold, intimate brutality of the slaughter. This was not a trick, this was a culling. "Sub-Commander," Kira said, her voice dangerously quiet. "They could have done this to us right now. They could have phased onto this bridge and executed every one of us before we could even process their arrival. The fact that we are still breathing is not an opportunity. It is a reprieve, a test." Her words hung in the air, heavy and cold. The shouting died down. The test was simple. Would they accept the new reality, or would they choose extinction? The Terran First Fleet arrived in GCE core space 76 hours after the ultimatum. The galaxy had expected the sleek, almost elegant Terran warships they had seen in newsreels and joint military exercises. What appeared in orbit over Concord, the GCE capital world, was something else entirely. These were the true vessels of the Terran military, the ships built for the wars humanity fought, before they decided to wear a mask for the galaxy. They were not beautiful. They were brutalist slabs of dark, non-reflective iron, bristling with weapon emplacements that defied conventional design philosophy. There were no graceful lines, only hard angles designed for maximum armor thickness and optimal firing arcs. They looked less like starships and more like flying fortresses, ancient and hungry. The occupation of Concord was not a battle, it was a process. Terran dropships, as ugly and functional as their parent vessels, descended through the atmosphere with impunity. From them disembarked the Terran legions, not the godlike phantoms, but the rank-and-file soldiers. They were still terrifying, clad in heavy, environmentally sealed armor to protect them from atmospheres less caustic than their own. They moved with a heavy, inexorable purpose. They did not speak to the GCE populace. They did not commit atrocities. They were simply an overwhelming force of nature. They secured the spaceports, the planetary government buildings, the communication hubs. Any GCE military unit that offered even a hint of resistance was neutralized with chilling efficiency. A plasma bolt from a GCE rifle would be met with a volley of hypervelocity slugs that tore through their cover and their bodies. It was pest control, not warfare. Admiral Kira Vex, having broadcast her fleet's unconditional surrender, was escorted to the surface. She watched as Terran soldiers directed GCE citizens, not with shouted orders, but with silent, undeniable authority. The GCE, who stood on average at 3 feet, were dwarfed by these armored giants. The Terrans moved with the calm, predatory confidence of a species that had never, not once in its entire history, been anything other than the apex predator. The rest of the galaxy watched in horrified silence. The message was not just for the GCE, it was for everyone. The Cygnian emissary, whose people communicated through harmonic resonance, described the shift in the galactic mood as a beautiful symphony falling into a single, terrifying chord.
If you enjoyed the story thus far, let me know by saying 1K in the comments.
Alliances with the Terran Empire were recontextualized overnight. The other races now understood the gifts of Terran technology for what they were: monitored, counterable, and generations-old systems. They were not partners. They were clients, subjects in a galactic experiment. Had their own species ever crossed the line, they too would have faced Protocol Zero. In a special session of the Galactic Council, Grand Admiral Vance appeared via hologram. The chamber was silent, no one dared speak. The Concordance Empire is now under Terran administration, until such a time as we deem them capable of self-governance, without threatening galactic stability, Vance stated, his tone flat. Let this be understood. The Terran Articles of War have not been abandoned. They have been clarified. They were never a list of our moral limitations. They were a list of your behavioral requirements. He let that sink in. Previously, a violation of these articles would be met with sanctions and diplomacy. This was part of the lie is over. Henceforth, any species, government, or entity that targets non-combatants will have their sovereignty revoked. We will not declare war, we will not negotiate. We will simply end you. The hologram of Vance faded, leaving the assembled ambassadors in a chamber thick with a new kind of peace. A peace born not of trust or mutual respect, but of absolute, undisputed terror. The Terran peace had begun. The cage was open, and the monster now sat at the head galactic table, its leash held firmly in its own hand. Wow. 1K followers, thank you for watching and liking my sci-fi stories. It really means a lot.